Strings, for me, are always reds, dark reds, moving into sometimes a purpley brown kind of quality. The woodwinds are always blue, sky blue, qualities of that kind of upliftedness that we feel when we look at the sky. There's always movement in the colors. So there could be streaks of white, there could be little flecks or twinkles of gold. And sometimes the colors actually, very often, the colors are swirling. So there's no static quality to it. In my mind's eye, I experience color when I hear music. It's a form of synaesthesia called chromesthesia. I think many musicians and artists have synaesthesia. If 2 to 4% of the general population have it, I think it's probably highly concentrated in artistic types. Conductor Leonard Bernstein was a synaesthete, and there are great artists, Vincent van Gogh, Kandinsky, composers, Messiaen, Sibelius, Rimsky-Korsakov. It fed into their creative practices. I remember the first time I conducted a professional orchestra, this overwhelming wash of color that went through my head, and it was almost too much. It was almost like my brain couldn't quite see a way through it at the time. But very quickly, actually, I realized that it was something I had always experienced. It was just very, very vivid with an orchestra. From that point onwards, I realized that this was some kind of superpower, almost, in a way. Let's take it from there. I love being a conductor. I get to conduct all around the world, from Europe, North America, the UK, and of course coming back here. Across our season this year, every program has some theme relating to a particular color or an idea of color. Derek Jarman, the great British filmmaker and writer, wrote a book in 1993 called Chroma. This incredible selection of, I would say, poetic essays. So there's a chapter on iridescence, there's a chapter on shadows. There are also chapters on red and blue and green. It felt to me like I was reading a symphony or some kind of suite of pieces, and I had always wanted to see whether I could translate that into music. Electric Blue is one of our first concerts of the season, and the main work on this program is Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade. Scheherazade is based on 1001 Nights. Scheherazade is telling all these wonderful tales to keep her life going with this terrible sultan. But most of these stories are set on the deep blue sea. Of course, Rimsky-Korsakov was a synaesthete, and E major for him was dark blue. Miriama Young, who's a fantastic Australian-New Zealand composer. She's very influenced by blue herself. We looked at influences, so the massive canvases, the abstract canvases of Rothko. You know, these 2 or 3 rectangles of a dark color, sometimes lighter and more vibrant. And I often feel that these rectangles nudge against each other. They almost sing, if it's possible. So we were discussing how could that happen in a new piece of music. Cézanne once said that blue gives color its vibration. And this resonated both for Miriama and I in terms of the vibration, actually literally, of what instruments do when they make sound. So her piece, a blue piece, being brought together by the vibration of a bow against a string or that buzzing on a mouthpiece in the brass players. So there's a little hint in the clarinet and the trumpet of blue notes, boom, bum, coming through as well. There's a kind of inverse effect with synaesthesia whereby the strongest part for me is that music elicits colour. But also, when I look at art, there's a resonance there, there's a musical resonance. I could only really describe it almost as a shadow of music. At the National Gallery here in Canberra, there's Jackson Pollock's Blue Poles that I saw as a little girl, and I was a bit bamboozled by it. Like the way I was bamboozled by jazz when I was little as well. There are so many things going on. These different lines, these different drips, and these blue poles that are structured throughout the length of this canvas, all come together and rub up against each other in a way to bring this vibrant, for me, sound and visual colour together. Painter Oliver Shepherd painted a portrait of me. When I first saw the painting, it was a bit of a shock because it was like meeting myself in real life. Once I'd gotten over the fact that there was a doppelganger on a canvas in front of me, I felt this colour being larger than the piece itself, but also shadows of sound as well. I had a lot of A-flat major coming through, kind of slow pulses, very calming and grounded, a real sort of gravitas, yet quite uplifted at the same time.
Thank goodness it didn't evoke a bad sound.
I know. Can you imagine? Or if it was fluorescence or something, because I hate fluorescence. Fluorescents are like, but not just that. Can you imagine that sound actually in the inside of your brain? Loud and persistent, never stopping. It's such an unmusical colour. Should be banned.